Welcome back to another episode of the Eek of the Week. I'm your host, Albert Einstein, but you can call me Allie with an OWL. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We're getting into another Dark Files episode, specifically surrounding the Branch Davidians, David Koresh, and Waco, Texas. It's been a little bit since I've uploaded an episode, but that's okay. Sometimes I will take... Okay, my camera's going to shake. This is cool. I'm not going to fix it. It's going to be fine. I just won't touch the table. 16-lane highway is running strong early. Yeah, sometimes I will take a little break from cranking out episodes for whatever reason. I might be busy IRL, or my mental state is not where it's at to be comfortable enough to record. But that's all fine and dandy. You get another episode tonight, though. If you are just now coming along this little channel, podcast, whatever you want to call it, I read ChatGPT prompted horror stories. I read documentary style exposés about serial killers, cults, haunted places in America. Let's see, what else have I done? Oh, we'll also have offshoot debates, or I'll have off-topic rants that I like to go on. One of the popular ones is about dating it was last year, but since we're early in 2026, it was the dating pool in 2025. That was a pretty popular one. And then I've also done a series on lolcows. You might want to check that out. Those are pretty good. And I think one of my two top performing episodes were about lolcows, so I might lean more into that genre a little bit later on. But I just like doing these dark files for me. It's interesting to see what the bot comes up with and how deep of a dive it can go into, which is all based on like the prompt that I put into it. This one tonight I think is going to be pretty good because I did a lengthier prompt. Sometimes I'll keep it short and sweet depending on whether I want to see how creative the bot can get on its own, or that curiosity of how many errors, like grammatical errors, it'll get if I don't specifically lay out the language that I want to read. But tonight I did a pretty lengthy prompt just to see. I'm curious what we're gonna come across with this one. Like I said, this one is about Waco, Texas. David Koresh, the Branch Davidians, and the standoff that ended up killing like 80 people. But before we get into it, I need to say that listener discretion is advised, that we are talking about disturbing material that might trigger somebody, might upset somebody. There are plenty more episodes down below that you can listen to that might not be as upsetting or triggering, or yeah, plenty more episodes down below. We'll catch you in the next one if this isn't your thing. But we are talking about sensitive material that is very disturbing in my opinion. Underage pregnancies, shooting, killing, death, siege, all of those crazy wild words surrounding. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with what happened in Waco, but I wanted to touch on this one because there's somebody very, very dear to me down in Waco, Texas right now. So this is in his honor. Let's get into it. There is no blurb for this one, and if you've been following along, you know what the blurb is, but there's no blurb this time. Also, another quick housekeeping item is that I'm slowly trying to upload all of these episodes to YouTube. I've had a couple friends ping me and say, hey, it'd be great if you could get all of this stuff over to YouTube because it's easier to share across different platforms. Like on Discord, I don't think you can share the Spotify links through a music bot on Discord, which would be cool if you had an entire Discord voice chat listening to me ramble on about killers and cults and lolcows. So I am slowly but surely getting all of these episodes, including all of the old ones that that actually started this channel, that were maybe like 7-minute long stories, like horror stories that the AI bot came up with. I think those are fun. Those really didn't perform very well, in my opinion, just looking at analytics. But there is more to come on this channel as well. I keep saying channel, but this podcast. There's more to come. I'm actually working on an episode with a guest host. I'm going to call him a guest host, where we're going to talk about a killer or a case, and then I have a mortician friend that's going to talk about the post-mortem side of things, and I think I'm going to call that series I'd have to look at what I called the other ones, the serial killer series. I don't think I just called it serial killers or something, but anyway, it's going to be something something post mortem, and we're going to take a look at from a professional point of view, what a mortician or embalmer or whatever like title you want to give them would notice about such a brutal murder, regarding like, you know, stab wounds and broken bones and whatever, like gunshot wounds and all that stuff. So I have a morbid curiosity, obviously. So yeah, we're gonna get his perspective on things, and we're working on our first episode here. It'll probably go out next week. Anyway, yeah, so more to come. We're going to do some different things over here. I would love to keep going with that and find more case files, more interesting case files. As I would love to get maybe the Chris Watts one, or what's the other guy? There's a guy, again, listener discretion strongly advised, because I'm talking about some pretty gruesome things. If you haven't already clicked off, some of this stuff can get pretty gruesome and gross. But if you're not into that kind of thing, like I said, maybe give this one a skip, or maybe give the next couple a skip as well. But there's this guy, this crazy guy that ended up killing, I think he killed his parents, and ended up like boiling his mother's head in a pot on the stove, and then like had his dad's head wrapped in a plastic bag and went live on YouTube or something like that. I really want to touch on that, and I would love to hear a mortician's side of that. Yeah, so exciting things happening on and offline. Yeah, oh, the YouTube channel, I think, is just Eek of the Week, or if you type in the Eek of the Week, it should come up. Or if you have any more ideas on episodes that you'd like to see, if there's somebody that I have not touched on yet, give us scroll through some episodes and see if you come across who you're looking for. I'm pretty sure there's a search feature on Spotify that you can do that with. I know there is on YouTube, but like I said, I'm slowly but surely getting all those other episodes uploaded. But for now, I think it's maybe some lol cows and some serial killers over there, maybe some dark files. I think that's probably the largest set or playlist that I have right now is dark files, which is talking about cases like we are tonight, like the Waco case. But yeah, maybe I'll say all that to say is that you can email me ideas of episodes that you'd like to see. Just email me at eekoftheweekpod@gmail.com. And yeah, if you're liking anything that you're seeing or hearing, consider subscribing, liking, following, share us with your friends, because we're having fun over here and we want everybody else in on the fun. Let's get into it. The Dark Files, episode Waco, Fire at Mount Carmel. Y'all can't see this because I still have not figured out a good way to put pictures or videos. I'm going to actually play around with some different editing software so that I can do that and kind of like push me to the side a little bit, and a picture will come up here, or a quick like video clip will cut to like that. I'm going to play with some more editing. It just takes time and people don't have time these days, but I do, it's all in what you want to make time for. I just think it would be pretty cool because I'm looking at David Koresh's mugshot. I don't know if it's a mugshot, but it's just a picture of him looking muggy. Okay. February 28th, 1993. Just outside Waco, Texas, in a dusty stretch of land called Mount Carmel, federal agents approached what they believed was an armed religious compound. They expected resistance. They did not expect a war. Within hours, bullets tore through wooden walls. Men bled out on the Texas dirt. Cameras rolled live as America watched a standoff unfold in real time. One that would end 51 days later in fire, suffocation, gunshots, and the deaths of more than 80 people, including children. This is the story of David Koresh, a failed musician turned prophet. A doomsday preacher who convinced followers he was the Lamb of God, and a siege that still divides America decades later. Tonight, we open the Dark Files on Waco. Part 1. The Making of David Koresh. David Koresh was not born a messiah. He entered the world on August 17th, 1959, in Houston, Texas, as Vernon Wayne Howell. His childhood was chaotic from the start. Raised largely by grandparents after being abandoned by his teenage mother, Howell grew up isolated and deeply insecure. He struggled academically due to dyslexia and poor eyesight, often mocked by classmates. Religion became his refuge and eventually his obsession. By age 12, he had memorized large portions of the New Testament. Scripture wasn't just belief to him, it became identity. He drifted through churches searching for validation, joining the Seventh-day Adventists before being expelled after claiming God had chosen him for a controversial marriage arrangement involving a pastor's daughter. Weirdo. An early glimpse into patterns that would later define his leadership. Again, weirdo. Shit gets weird in this. I actually recorded this once before, and again, I don't usually read through the manuscript that the bot produces after I do the prompt. I usually don't read through it because I'm very familiar with the subject matter, but once I started reading through this, I had forgotten to do the listener discretion advised at the beginning. You have to say that with certain like R-rated things, certain, what's worse than R-rated, NC-17 or X-rated, whatever. It really doesn't get X-rated over here, but you have to give a disclaimer for, anybody that could potentially be truly upset by this, and it is upsetting material. So there's that. In his early 20s, Howell tried another path, rock music. He moved to Los Angeles dreaming of becoming a Christian rock star. When fame didn't come, he returned to Texas, carrying a guitar, a Bible, and a growing belief that he had a divine destiny. Failure didn't humble him. It radicalized him. Part 2, The Birth of a Cult. To understand Waco, you must understand the branch Davidians. The group began decades earlier as an offshoot of Seventh-day Adventism founded by Victor Houteff. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please forgive me. Y'all know how I am with pronunciation sometimes. Who preached reform and apocalyptic prophecy. Now that's scary. I was talking 16-lane highway. Stay focused. By the 1980s, the movement had splintered repeatedly, leaving a small religious community living at Mount Carmel outside Waco. When Vernon Howell arrived, he was charismatic, intense, and frighteningly persuasive. He weaponized Scripture. Followers described sermons lasting hours, complex biblical interpretations tying modern events to the Book of Revelation. He claimed God revealed hidden meanings only he could understand. After a violent internal power struggle, Howell seized leadership of the group in the late 1980s. In 1990, he changed his name to David Koresh, invoking King David and Cyrus the Great, signaling divine authority. Oh boy. From that moment forward, dissent became nearly impossible. Life inside Mount Carmel. Former members described a closed world governed entirely by Koresh. He declared himself the final prophet, the only man capable of unlocking the 7 seals of Revelation. And then came the control. Koresh instituted what he called the House of David. Women in the compound were told God required them to become his spiritual wives. Some were teenagers. Several pregnancies involved girls as young as 12 or 13, according to investigations later reported by historians. There are source sites in here that I'll list down below in the description. No, I say down below. In the description, I'll cite the sources for this because I can see like a lot of this comes from like the History Channel. There's a biography that was done about him. To me, credible sources. It's not just some Joe Schmo like me. Reading from an AI bot. I did tell the bot to use credible sources. And to me, something like Reddit might not be as credible as like the History Channel. This camera is... I gotta fix that. Y'all bear with me. I swear, you'd think that this is my first episode. It's not. Husbands were ordered into celibacy. Oh boy. Children were raised collectively. Punishments allegedly include physical discipline and emotional isolation. Meanwhile, Koresh preached apocalypse. He taught that the U.S. government represented Babylon, an evil force destined to attack God's chosen people. The faithful, he said, must prepare for the final battle. So they stockpiled weapons. Lots of them. Federal investigators later alleged illegal firearm modifications and explosives accumulations, suspicions that would trigger everything that followed. Here we go. Part 3, February 28th, 1993. I was 7 years old, I think. 7, 8 years old. More than 70 agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms approached Mount Carmel with arrest and search warrants. That is from the Encyclopaedia Britannica. The operation was meant to be quick. Instead, it became chaos. Gunfire erupted almost immediately. To this day, no one agrees who fired first. What is known is this. 4 ATF agents were killed, 6 Branch Davidians died, dozens on both sides were wounded, and Koresh himself was shot. The raid collapsed into retreat. Within hours, the FBI took control. America now had a siege. Part 4, The 51 Days. Nearly 900 law enforcement personnel surrounded Mount Carmel. Inside, roughly 100 followers, including many children. Outside, armored vehicles, snipers, negotiators, and satellite trucks broadcasting everything live. This became one of the first crises consumed in real time by television audiences. Negotiations. FBI negotiators spoke with Koresh by phone daily. He delivered long sermons instead of answers. He claimed he was writing a divine manuscript explaining the 7 seals and promised surrender once it was complete. Sometimes he cooperated. 35 people, including 21 children, were released early in the siege, but progress stalled. Inside the FBI, divisions grew. Negotiators wanted patience. Tactical teams demanded pressure. The pressure won. Psychological warfare. Agents cut electricity. Floodlights blasted the compound all night. Loudspeakers played sounds meant to disrupt sleep. Chants, machinery noises, even screaming rabbits. The goal, exhaustion and surrender. The effect, deeper paranoia. Koresh interpreted every escalation as proof of prophecy. To followers, the apocalypse had begun. This is where it's very scary that people get to that point in their religion and their beliefs, that it spirals to this point of paranoia and believing that you are the divine being and you've got all these followers that believe in crap like this. It's all crap, in my opinion. Not the people, the part where people lost their lives, obviously, but I mean to get in that mental state of religious belief where you believe that you are God himself or herself. Even just saying that is going to offend some people. It's mental illness, in my opinion. It is unprocessed trauma. It is unprocessed emotional neglect. I am slowly but surely learning that about a lot of religious people. Have a lot of mental illness. Again, this is my opinion. It is not fact. This is just how I feel about the subject. After learning and experiencing a lot, being a part of religious groups in my past, that's just where I'm at with it. And feel free to debate down below in the comment section. Do not debate with me directly, because it will not happen. Let's see. Okay, so the followers, all I call them innocent people. To the followers, the apocalypse had begun. Part 5, April 19th, 1993. So this was from the end of February through the end of April. The final day began before sunrise. Attorney General Janet Reno approved an FBI plan to end the siege using tear gas inserted by armored vehicles. At approximately 6 a.m., tanks punched holes in the compound walls. CS gas flooded inside. Officials insisted the gas was meant to force evacuation, not kill anyone. Hours passed. No mass surrender came. Then, shortly after noon, smoke appeared. Multiple fires ignited nearly simultaneously within the compound. Within minutes, Mount Carmel became an inferno. The fire. Wooden structures burned like kindling. Witnesses described... Kindling? Is that how you say it? Witnesses described flames racing through hallways faster than people could escape. Some followers ran out. Most did not. By evening, the compound was gone. Approximately 80 Branch Davidians died, including 22 children. And that's from the History Channel. David Koresh was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Investigators later concluded the government did not intentionally start the fire, though controversy persists and conspiracy theories remain widespread. Audio recordings captured Davidians discussing spreading fuel, evidence investigators cited as proof the fires were set internally. But survivors and critics all argue federal tactics escalated a situation that could have ended peacefully. The truth remains emotionally and politically contested. I would agree with that, is that there's been a lot of debate, obviously, for even decades after, whether it was the government that came in and kind of strong-armed everything and that literally bulldozed and tear gassed these people, or was it the maniac religious cult leader that was paranoid and wouldn't back down and refused to end things peacefully as well. No one knows. Part 6. The horror inside. Autopsies painted a grim picture. Oh, this would actually be another good episode with my post-mortem series. Autopsies painted a grim picture. Some victims died from smoke inhalation, others from burns so severe identification required forensic reconstruction. I'm taking mental notes here for stuff that I want to ask him about, like this kind of thing, and I'll probably go back and copy and paste this and add some questions to it. Just a little side note. Several were killed by gunshots, unclear whether self-inflicted, mercy killings, or chaos in the final moments. Children were found huddled together in bunkers. Gas masks lay nearby, some too large to fit small faces. The apocalypse Koresh promised had arrived, not as salvation, but suffocation. Part 7. Aftermath and Legacy. The Waco siege shocked the nation. Criticism came from every direction. Why launch a militarized raid on a religious compound? Why not arrest Koresh during his frequent trips into town? Why escalate instead of negotiate longer? Government reviews acknowledged mistakes but concluded agents did not intentionally cause the fire. Still, public trust fractured. Waco became a symbol. To some, proof of cult danger. To others, proof of government overreach. The tragedy influenced extremist movements and even helped radicalize Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, who carried out his attack exactly 2 years later. Can you guess what my next episode's going to be? Part 8. What Waco reveals. Waco wasn't just a cult story. It was a collision of forces. Religious extremism, government power, media spectacle, fear on both sides. Koresh believed the world would end in fire. Federal agents believed they were preventing violence. Both sides prepared for war. And war is exactly what they got. Today, Mount Carmel still exists. A rebuilt chapel stands where ashes once cooled. Some surviving believers still gather there, convinced David Koresh's message was misunderstood. Because Waco never truly ended. It lives on in conspiracy culture, militia ideology, and debates about freedom, faith, and authority. 30 years later, one question remains. Was Waco a necessary intervention or a preventable tragedy? This has been The Dark Files, and sometimes the scariest stories aren't about monsters. They're about what happens when belief on all sides becomes absolute. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one.